What I'll get you to do is if you, from the back here, is if you, just with your thumb with here, right?
Yes.
Feel my spine and sort of press into the spine like that. So if you try to straighten up your spine now, if you try to relax your spine. Now when I say straighten up, try not to straighten, this needs to have its natural curve, right? But try to really relax upwards, relax the shoulder blades. Yeah, good. So that's nice and relaxed. So you've got very good external relaxation, right? And that's the prerequisite to being able to move the skeleton itself, right? So I'll show you what I mean. So if you do that to me, so if I just stand normally like this, right? Like that. So it's sort of like that, right? Now the muscles aren't too tight. Now if you try to help me straighten my or move my spine, there's not much movement,
no.
Right? And that's what you would feel when you touch normal people out there, right? Or if they try to move, they'll go like this. So if I try to time it and I physically move, if you push into me, it's sort of like that.
Yes.
Right? That's tension, right? Now, if you, as you're doing that, just feel the difference. So if I go, and if you press in now, press in. Yeah,
yes.
So something like that.
Yes.
Now that can't happen without the relaxation of the pelvis and Tai Gong. So if we take one step back to Tai Gong, now if you feel, that's why I said we don't straighten here, because I know a lot of internal arts, they actually straighten that area. Yeah, we never, in this lineage, we never, we let things set naturally into their spot. So we never do this with the shoulder or do that with the shoulder or do this, you know, and we want to, it's very important to keep the natural S shape of the spine. Okay. You don't want to fight against nature. It's S shape for a reason, right? So if you feel Tai Gong, so if you feel this area, and this the lower back, right? Usually, people stand like this. Now, this is not necessarily tense, right? But it's not active in the way. I can't rise up from my. If I rise up from my tailbone, there will be a physical rising. Can you feel that?
Yes, I can
yeah.
feel that.
And if I try to straighten this physically, it's a muscular thing.
Yes.
It's not like fully clenching, but it's a muscular thing. Now, Tai Gong is like this. So if I lightly. It's like that.
Feel it. Yes.
So now at that point, from that point now, the tailbone, I can start to rise up the spine inside. Okay, so now that, again, that could be like, yeah, but what is that? What does that do? What's the point? Okay, so then we can start to go, how can this stuff be used for in martial purposes? Okay, so how can we actually start to, when I said decompression of the joints, what does that actually mean? Now, if you've done Wing Chun before, right?
Yes.
Yeah, you're a Wing Chun man, right?
Before.
Before, okay, so you don't do it anymore?
No.
Okay, so but you know what a Tan Sao is.
Yes.
If you hold your Tan Sao, and then if you feel your bicep with your other arm, okay? So we're not talking about when we say mindful relaxation or normal relaxation, right? It's very easy to rest on something. If I rest on your shoulder and I go like that. So people rest on each other in Chi Sao and they go, okay, I'm relaxed. That's not real relaxation because you need to do it on some, you need something to rest on.
Yes.
Right? Whereas in a fight, you don't have anything to rest on. So when we say mindful relaxation, I mean being able to relax that while you still hold the Tan Sao without going limp.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which is very hard because in this position you're using the bicep muscle, right?
Yes.
To hold the arm up.
Exactly right. Yeah. And then now to use the bicep muscle, so if we go back to this, so this is normal. Now I'm not clenching, right? I'm not flexing and showing my guns, right? So if you hold like this, and at the same time, if you feel just with a couple, because I want to show that it's very much related to the spine. With your palm, put your palm on my thoracic spine. Yeah, yeah. So this is Tan Sao, right? Now, yeah, hopefully the camera can see it. Yeah, so from here. Now, if I try to relax it with my thinking, that's why we say with here, if I think about relaxation, all I'm going to do is activate more tension because, you know, you can't think your way into this. Whereas if I Tai Gong slowly, if I sing,
wow.
Yeah. Did you see how it's related? So you tell the audience what you feel.
Well, what I can feel is I feel you rise up through the spine, and at the same time, the whole bicep just completely relaxed.
Yeah. Now, this is not. I wouldn't say, if I had to bet my life on it, I'm pretty sure it's not 100% like inside. You know, it's not just the bicep that holds the arm up. All the muscles aren't fully like limp in the way relaxation. I actually did I actually had some tests done on me. They couldn't do the stuff I wanted, but one of them was in a Griffith University in Queensland. Yes. So they put all these things on me, and I haven't got the results back yet. But one of them was they had this thing on the bicep, and we could see on the screen. It's like the things in the hospital you can check your heart rate. You know, yeah. So when I would tense and go like that, I would just be normal without tensing, and it will still be like this, and then I'll do what I just did then, and it won't go completely flatline, but it'll become very light. So it was very obvious, and you can feel that there is a.
Sure.
Okay, so now what good is that? if I could use you again. So let's say we've got Tans out, we're coming up. So like you said, we need the Tans out to, or we need the bicep to be holding the forearm there. So if you're doing, let's say, a movement like this, coming up, right? Yeah, so from here, as you're coming up like that, so as you come up slowly, as you're slowly coming up. Now at that point, maybe it's gonna have power if I pull down. If you align nicely like that, muscularly, you'll have power that way, right? Yes. As you slowly come up, slowly come up, slowly come up. Now at that point, if I lightly hold here, right? And if I say touch your chest, so if you touch your chest, it becomes quite hard to touch your chest, right? Yes. Why? The reason is, but people will go, yeah, but I'll do a technique. No, we're just talking about the power that you can generate from a decompressed or relaxed joint. When the muscles let go, you're able to, with your mind, see and control deeper inside the joints. This is not airy-fairy stuff talking about energy at all. This is pure biomechanics, but to be able to use your body or control your body, your skeletal system in this way requires a skill, right? Yeah. Now, if I'm going like this, right? So let's say the same thing. If I'm coming up like that, now, if it's something like that, so if you feel my bicep, right? So as I'm coming up like this, you feel the bicep. If I'm coming up like this, like that, now to try to pull, it becomes like that, right? Whereas when it's like that, so now at that point, to be able to pull, why can't I pull my arm back, right? So you see how much power that joint gets, or if it's like this way. So this is just a joint moving anywhere like this. This is just one joint, eh? So if it's sort of like that, if you feel, let's say this here, the elbow joint there, if you put your fingers there, if it's like this, and if you hold strong, if it's like this, like that, right? Compared to, you can feel it. Yeah, so that's tense. That's actively tense. Now I can do stuff, or I can use techniques with it, but the problem is I can't move that without changing a position, right? But instead of position, what if we change a condition? So from there, if I go like that, now from here it's very easy to start moving this. So that's just one joint. You can do that with any and every joint. I can show the difference, the decompression in majority of the joints in my body, apart from ankles, knees, to be honest, because they're much harder, right? So then when you can start to mindfully relax the joints in that way, what good is it for martial arts? So speed, for example. If you're, let's say, holding here, so from here, this from we got this in Chun, and we got this in Bilji as well, where it goes like that, right? So from here to come back, now, as soon as I'm gonna come here, all you gotta do is just move your arm down, okay? So usually, if we don't have this control, the relaxation, for power and speed, we have to use we usually use the waist. The waist, every martial art agrees that this is a power source area, right? So by utilizing that, like a kind of a whipping motion, right? Yes. Now if I do that, so you fair income, as soon as I move, you move your arm down. So if I go like this, like that. Now even though it might look fast, because I'm going, if I slow it down like that, by that time you already go up, there's a movement, you come down, right? Now you hold the same. So from there, if I take gong, sing, relax. No, it's got power as well, right?
Yeah, it feels like a heavy dead weight as it comes around.
Yeah.
It feels like it's connected to your whole body.
Yes, yeah. And dead weight, I wouldn't say it's a throw. In what we do, we don't throw, like a lot of people throw stuff. We never throw anything. We want to be in control every millimeter of the way. So as it's moving that way, if someone was to pull down, it will still have power. Do you know what I mean? It's not like it's because a throw would be if someone did something, you have to sort of loosely go around it. Whereas what we're talking about is, which I'll demonstrate more and more. So that's one thing for speed. For example, moving the body as well. If you're there, let's say if I'm just out of range, right? Let's say if I'm here, and then I'm just out of range, and I don't want to lean, or I don't want to, well, I could do that, but let's say I'm out here. I'm going to touch your chest. I'm going to, let's say, come in for a punch, and as I'm doing that, you just have to stop me from doing that, right? Yeah, just block. So again, if I'm standing like this, it's a little bit easier because I can push off the back leg and come in like that, right? Whereas if I'm standing like that, to shift if you can't use your center of gravity, what you have to do naturally, you have to shift your weight, push off from this and come forward. And if I use that method, so if you're a little bit below my arm, so if I have to use that method like that, by the time, again, if I slow down, by the time I've gone like that, you can already catch it, right? Whereas if I can relax and focus this one, and just from here, step forward, so it's still out of range. Now, if I land it in a little bit more, it's not just step like that. It can have power. They're all, because if you can utilize your mass times acceleration is power.
And even if I make contact with the block, it doesn't change the the trajectory of where you're
exactly
going.
right. Therefore, it's very hard to block it.
Yes.
Therefore, with I'll go through one by one. So speed is one thing. Power is another thing. For example, if you put this leg in front, you know, instead of I won't kick hard, but you got a mic up there, yeah. Yes. I won't kick hard. So if you like that, from here, I can get a lot of power, right? Because I can use that momentum-based thing, momentum. So I need acceleration, and with the momentum, boom, I can get that. So much better if I do it from here, you know. But if I'm holding my leg up here, it can be quite difficult to get power, right? Whereas if I can, again, same thing. So Taigong, rising up to be able to decompress here, put my mass there, and I'll just utilize, just like I was utilizing this joint, just utilizing my knee joint. I won't add my hip joint or anything like that. From there, if I can start to do that, right? So you can start to get, so if I just lightly tap it in, can you feel that?
Yes.
Yeah, so if I accelerate that and then add this joint and add that joint, or do it from here, you can start to get that much more power.
So what you're doing at this point, Nima, is you're doing the same thing. You're rising up through the spine, relaxing the joint, and then using the full body for the power. Is that right?
Yes, yeah. But this is how we're able to tap into our mass. If you can think about a hose, if there's tension, the hose is blocked somewhere. So if all your joints are relaxed, you can utilize all of them, or as much as you can feel, at the same time. As well as, as I said before, if you can feel your whole skeleton, you're able to feel the center of gravity. You have to feel the whole bit internally before you can use the center of it. If I'm tense here, yeah, I can feel my arm, but not in the way that I can use it. So I can't use my center of gravity in that way. Imagine that. So imagine, yeah, you can use it all, but at the same time, joints can accelerate. Imagine like you've got a bike, right? It's got the chain going around 2 cogs. Let's add 10 cogs, right? So you've got 10 cogs there, you've got the chain going around all of them. Now instead of grabbing the chain, a lot of people are using tension, it's like they're grabbing the chain and moving it, right? Or some people move one cog first, move the second one, where if you can feel as many joints as possible, and you move, that's how you can get that. No one can actually use, in my opinion, explosive power. What it is they're speeding up of the joints. It looks like it's not moving, but inside the joints are very, very active. So all 10 cogs at the same time move 0.5 millimeter. There's a lot of power in that chain, right? This is not talking about energy or anything like that. Yeah, I'm talking about just pure biomechanics, just using limb tau, right? So you can start to get power like that as well. Or for example, let's say if we're here, right? I'm trying to think about just combat looking stuff rather than just you push here, I'll bounce you off. So I want to, so let's say from here, any good martial artist will be able to get a hell of a lot of power because they can just throw it and use momentum, right? Yeah. Now let's say you're only this far away, right? And you're not allowed to pull back much. So from there, if you try to get, now imagine this is my neck, right? So you want to try and get as much power as possible. Just have it go.
Strike into here.
Yeah. Just have it go at striking into there, yeah, without going back. Yeah. Yeah, that's quite good, right? And so this is what I feel. What you did is, and of course you're a good martial artist, so you can get power from there, but the power is sort of like this. Like that, if you hold strong, like that. So you don't feel much penetration there. I can still move you and possibly strike, but there's not much penetration here, right? So if I change it now, what's the difference with this? Like that, and that's actually a strike there. That's actually a strike. So what do you feel there? What's the difference there?
It feels like it's, like you said, like it's penetrating in, and also feels like it's bouncing off, so it can continue to the target.
So as you're hitting, you just, that was just a punch, so you're just going boom, like that, and hitting, but that will make your arm go like this. It's got that, rather than push past the guard. If you push past the guard, if there's pushing force, a person can sort of utilize in a different way. So speed, power we can get. One of the biggest things that I was talking about when I was talking about this one is, like for example, I went and met DKU. He's a very good martial artist. His method, for example, is as you're doing something, if you were to, let's say, because the hardest thing to do under pressure is to take perpendicular force to your structure. Like if let's say bong sao, if you're pushing in, easy. And that's why chi sao we can lean into and stuff like that. If you're pulling down, very difficult to. That's why in Wing Chun different understanding that people have, as you pull down, people do something like that, right? Now, what DK's one is, as he throws, if you pull down, he'll just sort of, I can't really do it that way. He'll just sort of loosely go around it like a wet cloth, sort of like that, which is and it's very powerful, it's very fast. It's just different to what I'm demonstrating here. What we're doing is, I'll show the bong sao in a second, but if you point your finger, right? From there, if you touch this finger, anybody can do that. Right? Now if I lightly rest my arm on you, I won't pull down, just rest. As you pull, You know, now, are you going to touch the finger? Are you touching the finger? Now, if you want a lie detector test, yes, you'll pass. Yes, I'm going to touch the finger. But actually, your muscles were doing something different. Yes. Muscle tension will always override your own intention. This is why relaxation is mindful relaxation is the #1 thing I believe for any internal art. Deep relaxation, not loose sort of system of relaxation. Yes. That's prerequisite. That's external relaxation. I'm talking about internal relaxation, right? So therefore, okay, what's that to do with a fight? That could be a punch. That could be a, you know, like in single sticking hands, we have down T-cell, right? So from there, yeah. Now, if as you're doing that, if I'm pressing down as you try to hit me there, if I'm pressing down, that's the reason why people then need to, as you press down on me, that's the reason they need to start press down hard. Yeah, that's the reason they need to start doing something like that, right? Now, if I can start to do again that same thing as you press down as hard as you want. Why can't I do something like that? You know, why can't I still go, and very slowly, right? Why can't I still go to where I want? So of course at that point it's actually very easy to hit, even as the person's trying to block it. Now with bong sao, coming back to bong sao, something like this, if you press down, if I'm like this, press down, you can catch the body, right? Yes. Now feel the change, and you just sort of say what you feel. So from there, if I slowly, tai gong, rise up, and relax like this, pull down, pull down, pull down. So I'm not, pull down, I'm not using anything. From here I can still hit.
So it's really hard to understand what you're doing at that point, but how it feels like the arm is being supported by something else.
Yes.
It's definitely not being supported by the shoulder.
Yes.
What you're supporting it with, I don't know, but there is definitely something there supporting the arm.
Yes, yes. So the shoulder, it's not the shoulder. Every joint is an outlet. Every joint is like, again, like a hose. It's part of the hose. If you can link them all together and there's no blockages in any one of them. Now I did this to show that I'm not used, so people will say, if you put your hips forward, you know, like that, and as you pull down, I can come underneath it like that, you know, but no, it's like this. So it's being able to move under pressure. Like if you hold here, I'll do the old school, Mr. Miyagi will like this one. Wax on, wax off, right? Yeah. If you hold as hard as you want, and if I use structural alignment, better if I stand like this and I push into it and I try to go like that, yeah, you're nice and strong, good. I can usually do that on people, they're nice and strong, but on you I can't do it, right? Now if I stop that and use sort of the CST method, so from there, what's the difference? If I go like that, okay, now you hold as hard as you want. Yes. Hold as hard as you want. Hold, come on, hold. Yeah. So if under pressure, if the joint can still move under pressure, that could be pressure this way, pressure that way. This can be anything, any incoming thing. And then that's why we don't use with Wing Chun, when we say everything's an attack, it's a misunderstanding, or it's a different understanding that people think it's, you know, let's say your punch comes in and you do something like that. Yes. It's not an attack like that. It's an attack of everything's an attack, i.e. as anything comes in, you just have to cover the line of attack, and at that point, why can't I defend and hit at the same time? Even with the legs, why can't you defend? If you, let's say, if a kick's coming in, instead of checking it like this, why can't I do, why can't I defend and attack at the same time? It's the same thing. It's, yes. If you can get this ability where your joint's able to move under pressure, you can defend and attack at the same time. Even if it's something, if you hold strong, sort of like that, like this, like that, you know, so being on top, you know, so usually people on top, they have to do something else. On the bottom, they can use alignment. Now, how am I using alignment if I'm on top? You know what I mean? So it's something happening from inside, from the mass. The other one is, so once you're in contact, like we do T-sao, right? Yes. So once you're in contact, I like to use Fuk sao, because Fuk sao is something, it's actually very difficult move to use properly for fighting purposes. It's easy to use in Chi sao because what people can do is either lean on you, yes. like this, like press down like what I was doing before, they can press down like that, or a lot of people, to cover the center line as you come in, they use this structural alignment. So as you try to punch me, they put the elbow behind it and do something like this. Yes. Now that is just two things meeting, and you have to always align accordingly. And what if then someone's got, you know, lightning speed jabs? How are you going to be using that? It's very hard. I'm not saying, you know, I can't do that. I can't use this method to stop a jab like that. So the way we look at it is going along what I was just talking about. If we can put on that state. Now from here, for example, if I'm doing this, right? Now if I slowly, a lot of people have to do this in T-sao to try to come around there. If I'm slowly trying to come up and touch your ear, right? Okay. So you do your thing as I come up to touch your ear. Now at that point, because what I felt there, if I slowly talk through what I'm feeling as I'm going like that, as you keep doing what you're doing, what I'm feeling is the force is coming a little bit that way. So because I can feel where your force is coming, it becomes a platform for me to push into this way. So because of that reason, as you keep coming in, because of that reason, I can sort of break through it. And then of course you could do something else, a technique, right? Now it's like if I'm doing something like that, so as you, let's say, try to come to touch my ear, with something like this, same thing, right? See how my force is going there? You can start to feel there's a platform. Whereas, again, slowly, if I take gong, and sing, and then if I place, now slowly if I focus my elbow and my wrist at you, so from here and from there, everything's focused to your center, but as you try to come up, I'll be able to come up properly. I'll be able to read, so even if it's very relaxed, very soft, I'll be able to read. Now here, if you come up, your joints, come touch here, your joint's stuck. At that point, I can actually hit you. You can't move, but I can actually hit you. So we get, this can start to stick to that, or these can start to control the joints there on impact. So very, very lightly, so there's a real connection, It's a connection to the target rather than alignment-based pushing this way, that way. For example, another example could be if you're, let's say you got a fist here, right? And you stand however you want, yeah, like that. Now what I want to do is I want to just slowly lean on you, right? So, and you just hold my lean, or, so if you're sort of like that. Now because you're standing with a very solid stance and front and back stance, at that point, if you wanted to move me back, you probably could. Yeah, try to move back. Yeah, you could probably could. Yeah, you could use that to move back. So then if you use that method now, if you stand like this, yeah, just like a Wing Chun or a Tai Chi stance, the front stance like that, it might become a little bit harder. So the reason I'm using leaning rather than throwing each other back is so people can see that it's not I'm not pretending and you're not pretending, yeah? Because that's the reason I'm saying lean, so it's real mass on the person's thing, rather than if I hold like that as you move, I could do something like this and people like it, so that's the reason I'm saying lean. So from that reason, if I go like this, now at that point, you could probably hold that for a few minutes, but you'll get sore, right?
Yes.
You'll probably get fatigued. If you try to move me back, it can be a little bit harder, right? More effort. Still very good compared to what other people do. Now, same thing. If I use 2 fingers now rather than a fist, so from here,
so as you
lean forward, if I'm doing that, now you can feel, if you lean more, you can feel that there's a nice thing to rest on. Eventually, and you're heavier than me, eventually, give me 2 minutes and I'll just start shaking the entire out, okay? So then, if I try to use my structure alignment to go there, once the pressure's already on, it's very difficult. There's no connection. There is me trying to use this weak sort of alignment or structure to take on that much force, and there's no link in between the two. I'm trying to move an object that's separate to me. It's a pushing type thing, or even if we strike, it will be like that. It can't penetrate. Whereas the same thing, now from there, as I try to relax, as you lean. So if I'm going, so if I'm going like that, see, lean. So from there, you can feel that it's hard to lean. If I step forward, you feel like the lean is, what do you feel?
I feel like I can't lean.
You can't lean.
Yeah, there's nothing to lean on. It's instantly taking me backwards.
Yeah. So for that reason, at that point, if you're very lightly, if I'm like that and just stepping forward, the strike can penetrate, because in the mind, and this is going to sound airy-fairy, but in the mind, I feel like this space and this belongs to me. And that's the real idea. Sticking hands, the sticking hands is probably better explained in our lineage as connecting hands. So the aim is not to stick to here. You do stick to there, but as a result of the connection of the whole thing, then it's very easy to move that, because that you can use your center to move the other person, because it belongs to you.
Yes.
Yeah. And the last thing is, so utilizing your mass. Like for example, if you're holding strong here like that, if you hold yourself solid, if I'm standing like this, if I try to pull you back and you hold strong, I'm trying to pull you back, and if I stand like this, maybe it's a little bit better, but you're too strong. You're strong. You're heavier than me, right?
Yes.
But if I use the other method, if it's nice and relaxed, and if I stand like this, or even if I go like that, nice and relaxed, hold strong. Yeah. So it's very easy to move, but there's no stance. There's no stance required. So as I'm going like this, where is the power? If it's connection with the ground required, where is the power coming from then? It's from inside. I mean, whether I'm in the air, speaking in the air, we can show this thing. Excuse me. For example, if you're holding this just on your chest, let's say, like that, maybe like this. Now, this is going to look goofy because I'm going to be jumping up in the air, so maybe there the diaphragm will penetrate maybe too much. So if I'm going like this, if I'm in the air, I will never do this in a fight, but just to demonstrate that there's no contact with the floor, right? And if I try to punch like this kind of punch, like that, well, get some force, but it's like this, right? Now I'll just sink one in, is that all right?
Okay,
yeah.
Sure.
So if it's nice and relaxed like that, there's no connection with the ground. How did that happen? That your mass actually went back. But if I speed it up a bit more, now this one, you won't go back as much, but I'll make it go inside. So in the air again, Yeah.
Yes.
You feel how it goes in?
Sure.
But we're not, there's no contact to the floor. So whether I'm in the, standing or not, if I'm suspended in the air like the punching bag, I'm still 70 kilos. So if I can tap into that mass and use the center of it,
yes,
even in the air you can start to get power.
So you can still generate the power that way.
You can still generate the same power that way. Even the same as if I, maybe a little bit less because I'm tensing up as I'm going back, as I'm going up and down, but you can get a hell of a lot of power by just being in the air, you know?
Sure. And you're not going backwards, it's me that's going backwards as well.
Yes, yeah. And then, so that this is mass moving, right? If you step, last thing I'll do is if you, as you're standing normally, right? And then maybe a little bit further back, and you just sort of walk through me. I'll stand like this, and you just walk forward, right? Yeah. So that's why if it's sort of pushing the contact point, remember what we talked. So yeah, you can walk faster. Yeah. Remember what we talked about the finger one, where if the person is leaning on you, if you're leaning on me, and not you, if you're using connection with the floor, I can clamp this in, and I can. Actually, at a point of impact, I can be a nice clamp to resist your force like this, right? Yes. Because there's no, you require connection to the ground, and I can pick that up and I can clamp you down. Whereas if you hold strong, sure, yeah, really strong. Now, the aim is not to move you back or whatever, but you feel the difference in method, right? So for me, if I sort of go like this, like that, or use my back leg, if I can time it where I can use my back leg to move forward, just like this, right? Now, if I don't care about you, if this is very relaxed, Taigong, Sing, this is very, and then I just move my center forward, yeah, so like that, this is the difference. Now you put a punch, you put a strike at the end of that, this mass times acceleration. Yes. Again, no woo-woo, this is just basic biomechanics, but being able to use your body in this way, it requires practice, it requires different thing than just a muscular thing, yeah?
And this goes all the way back to what we spoke about earlier about developing the state from Silim Tao.
Absolutely not. Without that, it's not possible. It's not possible to do this. Therefore, you start to, you know, even Chamkyu and Bilji, everything, the whole thinking changes. You start to pick up. Student asks you, why do we do this movement? Then you come up with stuff because, and their stuff works. I mean, you say, I'm not saying again it's bad or wrong or whatever. It's just very different. If you can't feel inside your body and utilize that, then you have to use different methods.
So this is not like a technique that you've trained where you've learned how to walk forward. It's a result of the training of the day.
Absolutely. Well, in Chamkyu, we're doing this, we're doing that. That's what that is. But compared to, like I'm thinking a punch is coming here, I'm redirecting it, or I'm reading, you know, this is inside, like that. That's why you can start to look however you want. You can start to, the Tai Chi people that I've met, I'm just being honest, I can do what they're doing so far. Right, I like to meet a lot of others on my list to meet and hopefully learn from. But I can do what they're doing. And Choshin Tim was doing that. You know, the Tai Chi masters or other masters that we'll meet. He'll be like, one story is in Adelaide. He was performing something and he was just showing sort of fast Chi Sao stuff like that, right? Not this kind of powerful stuff. And there was a Tai Chi person about to go up as well. And he said, that's not real Kung Fu, something like that. And Choshin Tim heard him. And then he got quite defensive, I guess, and then he said, I don't practice Tai Chi, but my Tai Chi is better than yours. He said, pick any movement you want, and we'll both do it. This was in front of the big crowd, this was at the back, and then I don't know what movement it was, he just sort of stood there and stopped him, and then he did the same movement without having to use the legs, just the same movement, and the guy said, you're very genuine, apologies, and all that kind of stuff. So it's just, that's one thing that I like to highlight, that this is not about just Wing Chun. You can use Tan Sao or Bong Sao because it's a circle, because it's what's happening inside. Therefore, with Lim Tao, you can use it for, I mean, when in life do you use your body? You know, so you can use it for everything, every single thing. That girl that I was talking about, Ajeng, the one the 40 kilo one, you can't lift her up. She had a kid and she brought the baby in, and Choi Sun Ting was manipulating and correcting her, guiding her how to hold the baby because she's so small. She said, my shoulders are hurting. So he was guiding her how to hold the baby effortlessly, you know. I teach people how to better their tennis swing. I've played tennis 3 or 4 times in my life because it's just movement. You say, okay, what's the movement? And you can see, you can go, okay, open it up, think about this. And people are saying, yeah, it's improving all of this, all of that. And also the health benefits, there was, I'll give 2 examples. One of them, this guy, Daniel Malone. You can find him on Facebook and ask him yourself. He was here training with us from Australia for 6 years. He had scoliosis. So when he came, Sigung was first like, everyone was like, wow, come and touch. We rubbed our fingers down his back and it was like this. right? Very obvious scoliosis. Within 4 years, he was with us for 6 years. Within 4 years, the whole back had straightened up, man. And he was showing it off. It was like, this is Wing Chun. And he didn't really manipulate or do the bone setting. It was just from seal and tap, just from standing and doing seal and tap. Another guy, big Mark Allenson, real tough guy. He's just from fighting and rugby and a car accident and stuff like that. His neck here was pretty much shattered inside. Doctors said to fuse his spine together. He said, no, I don't want to fuse anything. So he said it'd take him half an hour to get out of bed. He would have to take painkillers some mornings. He'd have the painkillers by the bed just so he can get out of bed. It was that bad for 20 years. He was with us for 2 years. He's still teaching in Europe somewhere after 2 years. And for a big man, he looks like a Viking. He's a real warrior. And he had tears in his eyes when he was telling Siegel through translation that my pain's gone. It's been about 3 or 4 months. I've got no pain. I'm still in contact with him. Still no pain. Yeah. So this stuff is not, Again, very woo-woo stuff. This is real life-changing stuff, and that's why, I'm dedicating my life to it forever. Because there's real stuff coming out of it. Yeah.